The following message from the YOS Foundation is an anomaly that is kept by the Foundation, and the person needs to be found. YOS 10087. Object Class. Safe. YOS 10087 is putted in a storage room and must be locked at all times. YOS 10087 is a Xbox box which is super tall in height, like 9 meters tall. It has a greenish hue, which is because Xbox is green, and it has a cooler inside. The noise is endless and is cooling down the inside of the box. However, the species that dares to go inside it is screwed. If they get in, they are locked from the outside, but after at least a minute or 56 seconds, they will hear a growling noise. Origin. It has been found in one of the cities by a man. He took it to his house and he randomly took it to his son. 3 minutes later the boy feels his stomach hurting, wanting to poop, but he realized that the house doesn't have a toilet, so he instead pooped in the box. The kid left his room to go on a vacation. 3 minutes while the turd is in the box, the turd freezes and decomposes completely, causing the cooler to be colder, so the boy was the one responsible for making the victims die. The boy was named Richard. Now how did the creature YOS 10087-1 appear? Well, the boy became hostile and kills a species bringing it to the box. The boy ran away from the country to avoid the cops. So that's why it became dangerous to the civilians. YOS 10087-1 wasn't found inside the box. Instead, he forms outside of the box and shakes the box, killing the species instantly. However, if the person inside the box with the person watching the box, it does not form outside of it. The instance only forms when no one's there. If the person is faster enough, they will capture it, putting it in a separate cell. It was originally going to be classified as Keter, but the box wasn't even dangerous enough to be that. It is classified as safe instead. The boy was never found, might be in an unknown location. Stay safe out there and we will gather more information of YOS 10087 until further notice. Yoink, obtain, secure. YOS 5240, Object Class, Euclid, Containment Procedures. YOS 5240 is kept in a room with a chair and a television where YOS 5240 is kept at. The anomalous abilities of YOS 5240 causes someone to commit suicide at this point. Description. YOS 5240 appears to be a run-scene Mickey Mouse cartoon from the 1930s. It shows Mickey walking in a endless town, with a looped animation showing. The music is featuring a rare piano playing, but eventually switches to static noises. After that, it turns silent. After the static stops, the background turns black for a few minutes. When the black screen disappears, Mickey appeared walking even further. Eventually screams will be heard from a human male. After the third scream, Mickey will have a grin on his face, meaning he's slowly losing his sanity. Before the screaming stops, Mickey's grin will expand even more, exposing his teeth with a half-angry grin. Strange noises will be heard and Mickey's eyes will become white, which is dead empty. The town will also be decomposing. Now more screams are heard, and it will last for a few minutes before returning again. The town has decaying even more and Mickey's face will begin melting. He will begin running, maybe not used to the screaming. After the screaming stopped, Mickey will fall on the ground and releases the syringe which has an unknown chemical. It turns silent again and the demon will appear by Mickey, staring at someone watching it. It will cause a loud noise, which will cause Mickey to no-clip out of the TV. Instead of being suicidal, he will become homicidal. And YOS 5240-2 will kill someone if he spots someone. But unlike other YOS anomalies, he will not get back to where he came from unless someone manages to kill him. YOS 5240-1 releases YOS 5240-2 if someone dares to watch it. The Foundation is trying to find someone who was responsible for making that episode. No evidence of the person hasn't been found. He was classified as Euclid because YOS 5240 needs more resources, or maybe he wasn't actually able to be contained. The anomaly is sapient. YOS 5240 isn't known that much. YOS 5240 seems strong enough to bust down steel doors. The TV should be unplugged or turned off at all cost. But TV seems to be anomalous as well. It turns on by itself. We'll be right back when we gather more information about YOS 5240 until further notice. Yoink, obtain, secure. YOS 414, Object Class, Keter, Containment Procedures. YOS is kept in a room inside a glass box and must be locked at all times. Description. YOS 414, also known as the spreading flesh, is a large mass of human flesh which is red and white in color. It was also called the living flesh, due to mobility. This flesh spreads very quickly and devours humans and animals, ripping the skin off to expand. 414. It is classified as Keter because, like I said, it spreads fast and must be trapped in a 12-foot box and poured into a glass box. Personnel are not to touch YOS 414 at all. This could cause a containment breach. It is impossible to neutralize this anomalous mass of flesh, because it consumes bullets too. We will find a way to terminate this fleshy beast until further notice. Stay safe out there. YOS 2003, Object Class, Euclid. YOS 2003 is secured at Site 43 surrounded by a metal fence. YOS 2003, also known as the Stacked Houses, is a group of 21 houses stacked together. It is an alternate dimension when going inside it. It contains multiple rooms and dangerous entities inside. Known as 2003-2. None of the people were able to find an exit. It is too heavy and too big to be taken to the Foundation, so they decided to secure it and forbid it for anyone else.
Expect with the Foundation personnel.
Item, YOS 951. Object Class, Euclid. Containment Procedures. YOS 951 is to be kept in a square room surrounded by a keyboard, line lights and a face cam unless for use. Anyone who sees YOS 951 stretch her lips towards must be immediately removed from the chamber. No one is allowed to smooch with YOS 951 by any means. People must be sitting on a chair a mile away from YOS 951. Description. YOS 951 is a computer device, PC, with the face of a human female, with eyes and red lips, doesn't possess a nose and eyebrows. She is capable of stretching her lips to 2 meters, and attempting to kiss the person after interacting. The background behind the face is pink in color. Origin. YOS 951 was found in a store when a man finds it. It was a normal computer device, but the man accidentally activated an unknown application called Kiss Eggs, and the female face appears and immediately kissed the man, eventually killing him with her kiss. She was eventually captured by the Foundation, realizing this application cannot be closed and will permanently be on the screen, and they are forced to stay a mile from her. Incident 951. YOS 951 was originally classified safe, but after she kissed her individual, she broke the windows from her lips and kissed almost all personnel inside 08. Eventually a professor cut her lips with a saw after encountering a near-death experience from her kiss. She expanded her lips to 100 meters long, but due to the saw, she only expands 2 meters for now. She was reclassified as Euclid because of the incident. She was sent to Site 08, a few miles away from YOS 4560 and AMP, YOS 7190. Item, YOS 872. Object Class, Euclid. Containment Procedures. YOS 872 is to be kept in a rectangular cell poured on a huge cup and the rest of the liquid in a soap-shaped hole. No one is to interact with YOS 872 by any means, and personnel wanting to get in the liquid is forbidden. Description. YOS 872 is a colorless acidic gallon of water contained in a cup and soap-shaped hole. It boils when attempting to touch and drink YOS 872 and burning off the skin of the victim with acidic effects, most likely hydrochloric acid. It is completely transparent, seeing the bottom of the cup and pool. Origin. Its origin is unknown. All the Foundation found is that a man is suffering from the acid water and instantly gets killed, and the Foundation finally containing YOS 872. Item. YOS 1362. Object Class, Euclid. Containment Procedures. YOS 1362 is to be kept in a 3-cell chamber and should be locked at all times. The shield structure is to not be removed unless is to be used for something important. The grass expansion is to be slowed down by an indestructible object. Several grass should be cut off if too much grass is formed. Several instances of YOS 1362 A and B should be locked up in 3 cells if hostility takes over them. Description. YOS 1362 is a large layer of grass filled with unknown species, covering up most lakes and plants. The full grass was cut off by the Foundation, which takes up to 3 years to cut off. They also contained most of the unknown instances of YOS 1362. YOS 1362A is a sentient human skull covered in moist, mold and grass. It doesn't move, but it does takes over the minds of living things and forces them to turn into a YOS 1362A by interacting with the grass. YOS 1362B is a humanoid entity covered in grass. It moves around trying to find any living thing to turn them into a YOS 1362B instance. It also hibernates during the night, sometimes during daytime. It shows extreme hostility to any species it interacts with. Origin. A man and his child finds a random huge grassland they never saw. His child was curious of what was over there. Even though the man thinks it is a bad idea, he decided to go to it. They traveled 10 miles away from the sidewalk, eventually finding a strange human covered in grass. They were confused and dared to approach it. The humanoid spotted them and sprinted toward the child's dad, instantly killing him. The son screamed and runs back to the sidewalk, but the humanoid outruns him and kills him too. They eventually turned into a instance. The dad turns into a YOS 1362B instance, and the son turns into a YOS 1362A instance. For some reason the mom was missing. Maybe joined the same fate with her husband and son. The Foundation takes 3 years to cut off the full layer of grass and contained in Site 10, along with the entities. Contained in Site 10 a few miles away YOS 9100 and YOS 7629. Item. YOS 5023. Object Class, Keter. Containment Procedures. YOS 5023 is to be kept in a closed cave and must block YOS 5023 at all times. The cave must be closed when entering YOS 5023's cell. Description. YOS 5023 is a flaming tornado about 2 meters wide and red flames surrounding it. It is capable of burning any type of objects and living thing, and pulls up light objects and releases any object if the species is spotting a object coming towards it and immediately dies. Origin. It has a rainy day and it looks like a tornado is forming. The people in a house were chilling and for some reason attempting to kill the people. The tornado purposely smashes a car in another one and absorbs all fire it causes and releases fire every time it moves. It soon dies by water tornado but reforms itself and continues absorbing fire and burns the grounds. Contained in Site 12 by YOS 2109 and YOS 8043. Item. YOS 60728. Object Class, Keter. Containment Procedures. YOS 60728-1 and 2 is to be kept in a square room and a YOS 60728 forest is to kept secured and forbids people from entering. No one is to travel further in YOS 60728. This will cause a containment breach. Description. YOS 60728 is a endless forest filled with trees, no animals and moldy. YOS 60728-1 instances are severed arms found in the forest. They are human arms, meaning some people attempted to enter the forest and killed, but they never even attempted to enter in the first place. They just randomly appear. YOS 60728-2 unsevered legs and human-like. They drip blood from the cut of the upper arm and leg. Origin: a family called the Grisons entered a twisted forest. The dad called Herman Grisons, the mom called Melinda Grisons, the son called Justin Grisons and the sister called Lizzie Grisons. They didn't care about it and wants to find a place to have a camping place. Strangely, the son saw a severed arm. He was slightly terrified but ignored it and continues following. They eventually find a place to camp. The dad tells his daughter to find sticks to make a fire. Lizzie finds a couple of sticks and eventually spotting a strange figure and attacks her. The family members heard Lizzie screamed until she dies. The son was shocked and decides to look for her. He saw the same figure Lizzie died to and screamed until Justin dies. The dad and mom were scared to investigate, eventually spotting the figure. It was a humanoid filled with arms and legs, and Herman and Melinda dies from the humanoid's abilities by exploding their body and head. They were never the same again. Incident 60728. YOS 60728 was once classified as safe, but reclassified as Keter, due to the humanoid's abilities and the arms and legs tearing up the skin of a living being. The arms and legs were sent to Site 29 and the forest secured in Site 20.
This Valentine's Day, your red velvet fantasies become reality. The new red velvet cookie at Jimmy John's.
Item: YOS 4356. Containment class: Euclid. Disruption class: VLAM. Risk class: Warning. Containment procedures: YOS 4356-2 instances are to be kept in a glass box. The top should be locked shut to prevent the anomalous abilities of YOS 4356-2 from taking effect. No one is to hold or make contact with YOS 4356-2 instances. This would lead to infection that is fatal and cannot be cured. Description: YOS 4356 is a phenomenon that turns any type of object into a bloody plush toy. The phenomenon is known as YOS 4356-1, while the plushies are known as YOS 4356-2. YOS 4356 is known to curse any subject it makes contact with. It also curses when a subject holds it. After for a few weeks, the subject will turn into another YOS 4356-2 instance. YOS 4356-1 does not affect a different type of plush toy since they are a different plush, but with the exception with the lack of blood. Addendum 1. YOS 4356-1 starts infecting every single object continuously, even in the Foundation. YOS 4356-2 instances instantly starts cursing some of the Foundation staff. The personnel had to quickly contain some of it in a glass box. Addendum 2. The infected Foundation staff after about a few weeks turned into a YOS 4356-2 instance. Other personnel took notice of this. They didn't want to touch the plushies, so instead they used a grabber tool to grab YOS 4326-2 instances and bring them to the glass box. Note from Dr.
YOS 4356 is a severely spreading phenomenon where there are so many anomalous plush toys, and it is almost impossible to contain all of them. This phenomenon is spreading to almost everything on Earth. Foundation staff seem to think this anomaly is very dangerous, and the fact that it is very difficult to contain at this point.
YOS 4356's reclassification to Keter is pending. Hey guys. It's me, Daniel, and I will tell you another YOS anomaly, which is YOS 3596. Object class Euclid. Oh, and also, yes, this is similar to the Volgan's videos where he explains SCPs, so don't ask. Containment procedures. YOS 3596 should be entered only if necessary. Personnel are to enter with a suit that YOS 3596 1 instances cannot terminate. No one are to make contact with YOS 3596 1 instances by any means necessary. Any YOS 3596 1 instances that is very aggressive towards any Foundation staff is to be terminated immediately. Description. YOS 3596 is an island located near the country of. It is an unsafe area that has never been visited due to the instances of YOS 3596 1 inhabiting it. YOS 3596 1 instances are a species of reptiles called snakes. Some instances are very deadly and some are not quite deadly. Many instances usually contains venom. Either is it deadly or not. Many YOS 3596 1 instances are hostile to such organisms and will usually bite and inject the venom into the victim's body, and the being will die within a few seconds or not. Foundation staff are currently using suits for protection of landing on YOS 3596. Alright, that's it for this video. See you next time.
Chicken this crispy tastes good with everything. More to love. Tyson.
Item. YOS 3230. Object class. Keter. Containment procedures. YOS 3230 is currently uncontained at this time. It is to be found as soon as possible to prevent YOS 3230 from causing so much destruction. Failure to do so will result in YOS 3230 reaching its destination and causing massive destruction. Description. YOS 3230 is a sentient, red vehicle that drives around endlessly on roads. It is extremely aggressive around any living being it sees and will attempt to cause as many injuries as it can. It is currently impossible to contain YOS 3230 at this time due to the endlessly driving of its behavior and is still driving to its destination and causing massive damage. Foundation staff are still trying to find a way to contain YOS 3230 immediately. We will try to contain it until further notice. Happy Valentine's Day every day. To celebrate on this channel, I decided to explain these two new YOS anomalies that is related to Valentine's Day, so let's get started. Item number. YOS 5062. Object class. Safe. Containment procedures. YOS 5062 is kept in a room with Valentine gift, TV and bed. Personnel should enter her cell if necessary. Description. YOS 5062 is a human female about 5 feet tall. She seems to be wearing a red dress and brown long hair. She seems to have the ability to let every person that is male bring her Valentine's Day stuff, like chocolates, roses, balloons, etc. Foundation staff once tested with a D class, and he was male, so he gave her stuff for Valentine's Day. Now, let's get to the second anomaly. Item number. YOS 6378. Object class. Safe. Containment procedures. YOS 6378 is kept in a room with table underneath it. Personnel are not to encounter YOS 6378 without permission. Description. YOS 6378 is a statue that is strongly resembling the character Cupid. It is sentient and has a bow that shoots arrows. and also makes a person fall in love with another person after shooting an arrow. It seems to be made out of quartz and stone, and the statue seems to be a baby. Happy Valentine's Day and stay safe out there. Note: YOS 4356 is reclassified as Keter due to the widespread of YOS 4356-2 instances. Item: YOS 4356, Containment Class. Keter. Disruption Class. VLAM. Risk Class. Warning. Containment Procedures. All YOS 4356-2 instances are to be contained as soon as possible. They must be kept in a glass box. The top should be locked shut to prevent the anomalous abilities of YOS 4356-2 from taking effect. No one is to hold or make contact with YOS 4356-2 instances. This would lead to an infection that is fatal and cannot be cured. Description: YOS 4356 is a phenomenon that turns any type of object into a bloody plush toy. The phenomenon is known as YOS 4356-1, while the plushies are known as YOS 4356-2. YOS 4356 is known to curse any subject it makes contact with. It also curses when a subject holds it. After for a few weeks, the subject will turn into another YOS 4356-2 instance. YOS 4356-1 does not affect a different type of plush toy since they are a different plush, but with the exception with the lack of blood. Addendum 1. YOS 4356-1 starts infecting every single object continuously, even in the Foundation. YOS 4356-2 instances instantly starts cursing some of the Foundation staff. The personnel had to quickly contain some of it in a glass box. Addendum 2. The infected Foundation staff after about a few weeks turned into a YOS 4356-2 instance. Other personnel took notice of this. They didn't want to touch the plushies, so instead they used a grabber tool to grab YOS 4326-2 instances and bring them to the glass box. Note from Dr.
YOS 4356 is a severely spreading phenomenon where there are so many anomalous plush toys, and it is almost impossible to contain all of them. This phenomenon is spreading to almost everything on Earth. Foundation staff seem to think this anomaly is very dangerous, and the fact that it is very difficult to contain at this point.
YOS 1122. Object Class. Keter. Containment Procedures. If too much YOS 1122 instances is in their original chamber, they are to be transferred to a different cell by using a machine to hold them. Personnel must clean the cells if too much black substance drops on the floor. The machine is also used to hold the YOS 1122 instances and holding the YOS 1122's eggs to transfer the egg to a different cell. Description: YOS 1122 is a entity currently in baby form. It seems to possess a baby personality, and it seems to be made of black ink, along with a white face with pie eyes and a smiling mouth. It seems to have the ability to continuously produce ink eggs to form a new instance of YOS 1122 for about 1 minute. When someone cuts a piece from YOS 1122, it will still form another instance. YOS 1122 and the instances will regenerate itself to grow its entire body. However, this does not affect the instance and it will still produce eggs, and it does not show signs of pain. Addendum 1122-1. The first YOS 1122 was in the containment chamber producing its first egg. After a few hours, the chamber was full of YOS 1122 instances, so the staff had to do something about it. They built a machine to send the instances to a different chamber. Addendum 1122-2. YOS 1122 were almost filling up a lot of new chambers endlessly. This tired the staff. Addendum 1122-3. The staff were really tired, as they filled all the cells with YOS 1122 instances, until they noticed one of them escaped the cell. The instance produced the eggs, forming more and more instances. The staff had nothing to do about it as the instances slowly filled the whole site. Incident 1122. One YOS 1122 instance escaped its chamber until it started releasing eggs. It slowly filled the whole chamber. The instances exited the site. The staff had to act fast to contain all of them to prevent a worldwide spread. They dropped a few eggs outside until the staff immediately trapped them in a cage. They had no choice but to send them to a different site, which is Site 71. Interview 1122. Agent Restricted entered Dr. Restricted's office, for some reason bringing a YOS 1122 instance with him.
Doctor, we need to talk.
WTF? Why is that YOS 1122 creature here? It's going to fill the office with eggs.
Oh sorry, I'll put it inside an animal cage. Anyway, we need to talk.
About what?
There are honestly too many YOS 1122 instances for us to handle. We kept sending them to different sites and different chambers, but it still kept doing the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah, I saw that. This anomaly, I believe, was about to attempt a XK end of the world scenario.
I think so too. If the anomaly covers this entire planet, it will cause every living thing to suffocate to death, and will possibly make the planet uninhabitable.
That is honestly dangerous. I will ask all personnel to attempt to terminate and neutralize YOS 1122 immediately.
Wait, but YOS 1122 will regenerate and form another one, that will make it worse.
We will do something that doesn't have anything to do with weapons.
End log. YOS 1122's behavior is very close to the Apollon class. If this gets worse, YOS 1122's classification will be reclassified as Apollon. YOS 1122's reclassification to Apollon is pending. It is also caused by YOS 1122-1, an inkwell that forms YOS 1122 instances. Item number: YOS 2437, Object Class: Euclid. Containment Procedures: YOS 2437 is currently uncontained and should be contained immediately. YOS 2437-1 is to be tracked down with an object to follow its every movement. YOS 2437-2 is to not be used if necessary to get either YOS 2437-A or YOS 2437-B. Description: YOS 2437-1 is an ice cream truck with many pictures taped on it. YOS 2437-2 is a humanoid entity with melted skin and a pair of orange and blue clothing. It usually drives YOS 2437-1 around to lure civilians to feed with YOS 2437-A or B. YOS 2437-A is an ice cream cone in which YOS 2437-2 randomly passes out, whether it's with different toppings or different flavors. And YOS 2437-B is a popsicle that YOS 2437-2 also randomly passes out to serve, also picks different flavors. When YOS 2437-2 passes out an instance of YOS 2437-A or B, the victim will most likely have a heart attack and an eternal brain freeze, which will kill the subject. Test 2437. D2437 has been used to test YOS 2437. YOS 2437 approaches D2437 and gives him an instance of YOS 2437-A for $4. D2437 gives the money to YOS 2437-2 and eats it. He suffers a heart attack and dies.